Yo, Icon Nation, what it is, man? It's your boy Yerdy G.
Icon Nation, what it is Nick White.
What's up, Icon Nation? This is your boy Jalen Talley.
And of course, this is another episode of Toxic Icon Podcast. Now, we have a return guest tonight.
Our first returning guest.
I like to call him the HHN Hall of Famer.
The HHN Guru.
Mr. Craig Towns.
What's going on, y'all? Let's do it.
Man, this is a very special one because all of us went to HHN this year.
But we did it in a very special way.
Both coasts, same nights.
It was crazy. Jalen and I checked out Hollywood this year.
And then I checked out Orlando.
Me too.
And all I can say is what a year for Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, this year was solid. Like, out of the 10 houses that Orlando got, there's only 2 on my list, which trash.
And honestly, for me, in terms of Hollywood, out of the 8 that we had, which out of those 8, that also includes the Terror Tram, for those who may not know, there was only one that I would have scrapped completely. So, all in all, for me personally, not bad. I give the entire event, including like food and drinks and merch and all the other additional things that come along with Halloween Horror Nights, I give it a solid 9 out of 10 for this year.
Same, 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10.
Yeah, I give it a 9 out of 10 too. It was a really solid year for sure.
Very solid year. I felt like in Hollywood, I feel like they market it as if because it only has 8 houses that it won't be able to live up to what they pump out every year in Orlando. But I feel like Hollywood kind of had the edge on Orlando. I didn't actually go to Orlando this year, but I did watch on YouTube, and I feel like Hollywood just kind of had them a little bit this year. I feel like Hollywood's main goal this year was to actually scare as many people as possible. Like, that's what they wanted to do. The detail was there. The family atmosphere of Halloween feels were there. But when it came to the houses, they were really trying to pack a punch, and I feel like they nailed it for the most part.
After watching, I could agree.
Yeah, in plenty of ways, I whether it be, whether they do their own ideas or whether they because they differentiate themselves from Orlando, I feel like, Hollywood pulls out all the stops when it comes to doing their Halloween Horror Nights on that coast. So pretty solid year from what I've seen for Hollywood for sure.
Definitely. I've always said I felt like Hollywood always had better zones, and that Orlando always had better houses. This year, I kind of feel like the roles are a little bit reversed, but Hollywood also has some really cool scare zones this year. In fact, the main scare zone that you walk in right when you walk in the park was the toy scare zone. Yeah. And it was literally a bunch of different toys that you may have had growing up in your childhood as horror characters. And I thought that was really cool, especially with them having a house on Chucky and like playing off dolls and things like that. I don't know, man. I just thought that was a cool, creative idea, and it was definitely outside of the box. And I feel like there is no better time for them to do it than this year.
I feel like the scare zones in Orlando was really good, especially the Vamp 69 scare zone.
Yeah, Vamp 69.
I really love that. Like, it's like right by when you walk past Exorcist and when you walk past Stranger Things, and it's right by Yeti and Dueling Dragons. It's like right when we turn that corner right across from the Mummy. It was really good. I really like the concept of how it's like a 1969 Peace Fest, and then like vampires come in and everything breaks loose. But for sure, like, the detail, they even had music from that era playing, like not just thrown together music that they made up, no, like real music from that era. And like everybody was like, the vibes were there, like everybody was singing and dancing along and everything. So that was definitely like a really good scare zone. And I like how Orlando incorporated Dr. Ophel in every single scare zone too. So, and it all looked good.
I didn't realize he did that. That's cool.
Yeah, he's on his conquest.
Okay, because I definitely feel like in terms of Orlando, this was the year of Dr. Oddfellow. Like Oddfellow was the main driving force of Orlando this year. But I felt like Vamp 69, when they started talking about that scare zone, I'm not gonna lie to y'all, I wasn't sure about it. I wasn't sure about it. I'm like, how do you turn a disco party into something scary? I don't know. You know, if I'm gonna give somebody an idea that may not be scary and trust in them to turn it into something scary, it would be the production team of Halloween Horror Nights. They seem to have a formula that usually will work for the most part.
Like, definitely, like, you definitely, like, of course, if you would see it off rip, you gonna be like, but is it honestly gonna, like, work out? Is it honestly gonna, like, when it all comes together, is it honestly gonna, like, live up to that expectation? Because HHN does really great scare zones. So, when, looking at VAM 69, you're like, "Oh, okay, that's nice what they're doing, but is it actually gonna, like, look good?" But then, like, when you actually go, like, me personally, it was great. Like, um, I know one of the songs that they played was Sweet Caroline. Everybody was dancing and singing that song. Like, it was like the vibes were there, like, people drinking. So, the vibes were there and everything, especially with, like, the Oddfellow scares on I think it was the one where he's like finishing up his conquest and collecting powers. He had his own booth at like the beginning of the park, and he was like meddling with people and
Oh yeah,
making conversation and
he was doing the
everything.
whole "What's your zodiac sign" thing.
Exactly. So it's like, when it all came together, like, and when it all pieced together, you went into each scare zone one by one and it all worked out. So yeah.
That's interesting because I feel like the year of the Zodiac was big in Orlando. They definitely did some things with zodiac signs. Do you remember them doing some things in Hollywood?
The zodiac signs.
Yeah.
Um, kind of. I mean, a little. I know it was like probably small, but it did a little stuff with it.
I feel right. Like Jalen said, they did some smaller things with it, but I feel like this year at Hollywood, it was heavily based on childhood horror. Childhood horror. What was that first horror movie you watched as a kid that really messed you up? You know, like they really marketed, your Exorcist house, your Chucky house, especially those two as like the houses that you should be terrified to go into. You know what I'm saying? The scare zones were not Zodiac or Oddfellow based at all. They really didn't do much with Oddfellow in Hollywood. It was honestly huge on marketing the houses that were there, honestly. So
I mean, that's what Hollywood normally does. Like, they're not really, like, too much into the scare zones like that, because again, the room, they can't really, like, you gotta worry about going up and down the hills because, you know, they're on the hillside. So it's like, you know, there, and then, like, when you actually walk through the park in Hollywood, like, that you can only do so much with a quote unquote scare zone. It's like right when you in the middle of it, you like right at the escalators. So it's like they can only do so much. So of course they're gonna worry about the houses and be more in tune with that. And all their efforts gonna be in that more than the scare zones. Not to say that they don't put no effort into the scare zones, but like generally speaking.
no, I completely get what you mean. It feels like every year Orlando is more heavy on an overall theme, and then once they have their overall theme, then they pull their house ideas from that. I kind of feel like last year's Horror Nights really didn't have that, so it's cool to see that they have gone back to that this year, especially in Orlando. Orlando has a certain vibe. Hollywood has a certain vibe. You know, it is what it is. Hollywood's gonna capitalize off the IPs. That's what they do. Their originals are great, but they're not marketing their originals like that.
It's like they have more IPs because it's like it's Hollywood. So, of course they're gonna like churn out all the IPs like they did Evil Dead Rise, and they did that like, like a couple weeks out. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, they're gonna churn out as many IPs as they can because, it's right there. You want to enter into they want people to enter into the movies, rather than the original IPs. Because in their case, let's be honest, they're not going for original IPs. Original house. They're going for the IPs. See what they do. So yeah.
Well, with all that being said, we got plenty of houses we need to get into.
Yes, we do.
I'm gonna let you guys kick it off. Orlando had a couple more houses than Jalen and I were able to do in Hollywood, which only had 8.
Yeah, but y'all have the
So-
Terra Tram, which is,
Terra
it's
Tram
technically
really equates to the same amount of 2 houses.
Yeah,
It's
right, 'cause
massive.
that's what
Like,
basically-
it's technically one big scare zone, but like you said, it equates to 2 houses because you get so much.
It makes up for it.
And it's I feel like the Terra Tram is a good experience also.
It is. Terra Tram was the year of the exterminators this year.
So bug stuff.
Bugs
Yeah.
eating alive
Yeah,
last year.
it was Bugs Eaten Alive from Orlando last year on steroids, is basically what this was.
Oh, okay. So I would have not liked it.
No, it was very like bug driven.
Because I hate bugs.
The only complaint I have about the Terra Tram is that I feel like they kind of ran out of things to put along the pathway at times. I feel like
So it's
we got
empty
off.
patches.
Not really empty patches, but there were just some parts where, like, if you go on YouTube and watch any of the vloggers that went, you go through the zone where they have the exterminators, right? And then you keep going in there. Then there were just like some walkways just covered in spider webs.
Oh yeah,
Like,
that
they
makes
had
sense.
some
There's some
actors
dead. That's
there.
dead spots.
But there were some dead spots, and
Yeah.
so
They definitely have, because that's a lot of room. You gotta walk.
exactly.
So
And then as you keep going, then you end up going into Jupiter's Claim from
Right.
Nope. And then it's all Jordan Peele, Nope, and Us, all of that stuff right there. And I thought it was good. I enjoyed it, but I do see where some people are not the biggest fans of Terra Tram. A lot of people are like, scrap the Terra Tram, stop bringing it back, just give us 2 more houses, which I get from both sides.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to cover their real estate though, also.
They have a whole lot of
Because,
space out
like you said, like, it's a whole lot of space. And then they're on that hill also.
there. Right.
So you have to make do what you have.
Right, and it was cool to be on the Terra Tram at night and ride down the hillside to those back lots and see all that kind of stuff. So it wasn't bad. There were just a few dead spots.
it's definitely his own experience. So there's people like you gotta appreciate it for what they're doing, because it is a Terra Tram, and there's nothing else like it. So
I will say, do it early in the night because it closes.
Does it?
it closes
Yeah.
early, yeah, like
Really?
halfway into the night.
Terra Tram was only.
I did
open
not know
until-
that.
Yeah, it closed at 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Event ends at what?
2?
1:30,
2
2 o'clock in the
o'clock.
morning. It closed at 11 o'clock.
I guess because it does take an hour and a half.
Not really, man. It was pretty quick. It felt like
I wanna say
we 20 minutes,
30 minutes.
20, 30
Really?
minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they got a bunch of trains, so they're just continuously.
Okay, yeah,
bringing
because
up
when
and
you do
doing
the
it around.
backlot tour during the daytime, that's about an hour plus.
Yeah, that's like
Right.
an hour.
Right.
Because you're going through like they're showing you all the stuff like the working studios,
Right.
and then they take you through Jaws, I was about to say Godzilla, Jaws, King Kong, Fast and Furious, and it's I want to say Twister also.
Twister, yeah. No, basically what they did was they drove us down and then they let you out in essentially another scare zone,
Yep.
Okay.
which is the extermination scare zone. They had a
Okay.
bunch of exterminators with like grasshopper silicone masks on.
Because normally
They just unloaded chainsaws on us like right there. And I thought that was the coolest part, but they just didn't keep the energy up all the way
Okay.
through.
Yeah, see, I didn't know because when I went in 21, when I had those 2 shows in LA, I didn't get on the Terra Tram. I was more concerned about
okay.
the houses, and I ended up doing the Texas Chainsaw House twice.
Okay. Well, in terms of houses, because I do wish that I would have been able to experience that one. My favorite houses, the biggest takeaway for me in terms of Halloween Horror Nights Hollywood this year, Exorcist, and this is in no order, but Exorcist is coming in at the very top, Monsters of Latin America, and Holidays in Hell. So I got 1 IP and 2 originals. And this is why I say this. Exorcist was just extremely intense. Like I'm not gonna say I wasn't prepared for the intensity, but the intensity that they marketed the house to have, it had it. It had the smells in there.
Oh
It
man,
smelled horrible.
the
Like they're trying to
smells.
portray to you what's happening. You know what I'm saying? The smells were there. The sound system was there. The actors were on point. And
Yep.
then by the end of it, they had like 3 4-way scares back to back to back. People were coming out the house covered in sweat because they just like it's short, but it's intense.
Short and sweet.
Also on the lower lot, Holidays in Hell. I just thought that was cool because they really turned holidays that aren't scary at all into something actually really creepy. And it
Right.
was
So
very
they went through
intense.
the entire year, right?
It follows a calendar year. And I thought that was cool. And I thought the Easter scene was the best. Shout out to whoever that actor is playing that dead Easter bunny in there. It was very intense. And then Monsters of Latin America was like the spectacle one. It was the one with the best detail. It was the one you could tell they really wanted to get it right, get every part right. You could tell they sat down and talked about ideas and things like that. They didn't just throw anything in there. They really worked hard at that. So those are my top 3. And the only one that I would scrap from Hollywood was Chucky. Throw it
We
in
gonna
the
get
trash.
into that. Trust
Yeah.
me.
We definitely gonna talk about it.
My-
So
my-
those are my top 3 from
my
Hollywood.
heart
What
break,
about you,
Chucky.
Jalen?
My top 3 definitely. First one I would say is Exorcist, then Last of Us, and Evil Dead.
Okay.
Ooh, all IPs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the reason
Yeah,
for
Evil Dead was dope.
yeah, the reason for Exorcist is because, like you said, I thought just like it kind of surprised me as far as like the scare factor because it did like it was intense through that whole way, and I really enjoyed that. From like beginning to end, I don't think there was a single weak spot in there that when we went through it, and the end, that final scene where like the 3-way scene, like boom scare there, scare there, like all 3 of those were fantastic. And then Last of Us, obviously, because I'm biased because that's like my favorite game, so of course I'm gonna like that house. And then like seeing that the bloater and like the clickers, and then obviously the actors who were playing Joel and Ellie, I thought they did a great job referencing moments from the game. So I obviously had to cop the shirt, so
Got to.
yeah.
You got to.
And then Evil Dead, I just like that one was just very, the atmosphere was intense too, and very scary.
What I liked about Evil Dead was the queue line. When you wait in the queue line for Evil Dead, the lights in this, a normal hallway, no theming, no nothing, right? They just got some sounds playing through the speakers or whatever, but the lights are just like flickering, and then they would shut off for like 10 seconds. And then they would come back on, and the fog from that house would just kind of flood through the line and things like that.
Get you in the mood for sure.
It was nice.
Yeah,
it was definitely
for
nice.
the main event.
I don't know what it was about that one that would keep it out of my top 3, but I feel like it was still intense. But I feel like it just didn't match the intensity of my top 3, and I think that's why I can't put it there. I think HHN, that like the horror night community, as well as myself, when we got the announcement, everybody was just like, "That's House of the Year, unanimous decision." Like that's it. And then this was the year of the originals at Hollywood, for real.
It's the same way in Orlando. Honestly,
It definitely was. It was original. Man.
The originals were like, they knocked it out the park. They
Yeah.
honestly did. Just like last year, because when you go on the HHN, people don't really expect the originals to like beat at. They expect like a couple here and there, but all of them the past 2 years, Universal's been stepping their game up, because I feel like over the course of the pandemic, especially they really delved into the ideas and everything, and I feel like the budget has gone even higher because tourism as a whole in the United States, like ever since the pandemic period ended,
Skyrocketed.
just skyrocketed. Like the economy has boosted in LA and Orlando, especially because there's people have that, and even this year there were people that were going to HHN for the very first time because they wanted to do it like the past 2 years, but like people had to get up on their feet, get back to doing what they was doing, like before the pandemic hit, and then just like but this year was the first year that like it was like HHN was truly back.
Yeah.
Like it was like back to the original wait times and like the attendance, even the food and the merch, like everything as a whole, like it was back. It was back last year, but this year it was back.
Yeah, I
See?
feel like they pulled out the stops. Like
Yeah.
they brought all of it out
For
this
sure.
year.
They did a whole HHN store in the Orlando International Airport, which has
Yes.
not been done
Yes.
before.
That was dope.
So, they like, hey, nah, when you come off we fresh off the jet, we want you to see this. We want you to buy merch before you even hit City Walk.
And that's what I did. I was in that store for about an hour.
Oh, yeah.
Before I even went anywhere.
Now, they didn't have that at the airports in California, but downtown Hollywood was taken over by HHN. Billboards everywhere, like
when LA when they wanna show off an event or something going on, they want you to see it.
Yeah.
Like everywhere you turn, on a billboard, on a skyscraper downtown.
And they definitely did that. They definitely did that. Now, what was y'all favorite houses down there?
Exorcist is number one. So first and foremost, y'all know I went to see the movie the night before I went to HHN.
So that the house would make more sense.
Yeah. So I had a way better experience with the house just because I knew exactly what was going on. Because you know how in the previous episode we were talking about how maybe the house would just be more like a trailer. This house was beat for beat the movie. And this might sound bad, but the house was better than the movie.
Honestly, you're not the first person that said that. Because I did a bunch of research just to have my thoughts ready to, to do our episode tonight. And I feel like a lot of people have said that same thing.
Yeah.
The house has beat out the movie. Like
it did. And the thing is, like I said, the house was intense. Now, I didn't get the smells how y'all did, which I'm thankful for. But
I don't know how you didn't. Because they pumped it in there.
See, I must have went. Well, I mean, I went during Stay and Scream.
True, because when you do Stay and Scream, there's another thing why people would rather do Express than Stay and Scream, because during Stay and Scream, you go when it's relatively still light outside, so your eyes are not adjusted. Or when people do Stay and Scream, they have shades to where they put them on like when they get closer to the houses, so their eyes can get dilated to where you can like actually see everything. Because that's the mistake I made. I did Stay and Scream, and the first house I went into was Universal Monsters, and so my eyes weren't as dilated like that. So I actually had to had to blink several times to actually see it. So when I went in the parts when it was total darkness, I couldn't even see. You know what I'm saying? But yeah, for sure that.
Yeah, that house is top tier. Like, I feel like if they put out houses like that across the board, HHN would just be unstoppable. Yes, Exorcist, that's number one though. Secondly, this was a hard one for me, The Last of Us. Because I've played the game as well.
Okay.
In my PS4 Pro days. Bro.
You just made this really interesting with that being on your list.
For sure.
Like, seriously, like Jalen said, when I saw bloaters and clickers, mind blown.
Everybody was going crazy over those.
Man, look, I was running through the house.
I ain't gonna lie. For real.
I was also crispy too by that point.
Yeah. But you want to know what's crazy though? Because the Last of Us house between LA and Orlando, there are two distinctly different experiences, because when I looked at LA's version, it's like you're in the point of view of Joel. But in Orlando, it's like you're walking through it. You know what I'm saying? It's like you're experiencing everything around you. But then like in Hollywood, you're like it's like you're the player.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying?
You're in first person mode.
Yeah. Hollywood definitely had a first person feel to it, more of a point of view type of.
The facade was way better too.
in Hollywood.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Hollywood got a lot better facades. Like the Chucky facade was way better in Hollywood.
for sure.
Yeah. I do feel like in terms of facades and things like that, I feel like Universal Monsters should have been in the lower lot in a sound stage. Universal Monsters was actually in a tent this year.
What? See, it was in that same exact sound stage from last year in Orlando.
Was it? Yeah.
And The
it was
Last
in the
of Us
tent
was
this
where the
year.
weekend was last year.
Yep.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
See, man, look, Last of Us got it.
That was your top?
No, so that's
You
my
got one
number.
more.
That was number 2.
Yeah, so my top is Exorcist. Last of Us is number 2. And then, which I feel like this should be ranked higher, but I feel like nothing could top The Exorcist. Universal Monsters did it for me. Because it started off intense. Like, they took us through Paris. It's raining and everything.
Man.
And it's like every room got more and more and more and more intense until you got to that triple scare at the end.
Yep, it did.
So with you all's Universal Monsters in Orlando, you said it was raining, right?
Yeah, it was like.
So
at the
were they
beginning when you first-
actually? Was there actual rain happening within
Oh
the
yeah,
hunt?
it was actually. It was like mist.
It was just like with
Dead Man's Prayer.
Spirit.
Yeah,
Yep.
it was just like that.
Yeah,
It was a
that's
Dead Man's
hard.
Prayer effect. It was mist, but it was like a little bit heavier, a little bit
Okay.
because you were actually like, I mean, you was outside too on Dead Man's Prayer, but I feel like that rain effect, like it hit you, like it was like raining, but it was really mist. It was like heavy mist. It was heavier
That's
mist. than it
cool
was
though,
last
man.
year,
But see, that's what will always set an HHN house apart from another house, man. It's like
They drop you
the
in
attention
the
to detail,
environment.
the very little small things, like Holidays in Hell. When we went through there, I know I talked about Easter, but when we went through the St. Patrick's Day hallway,
that was my favorite one.
2 different hallways. I can't remember, like, they eat like corned beef and stuff on
Corned beef
St.
and
Yeah.
cabbage. Yeah.
That's what it smelled like going through
That's
there.
crazy.
But they also pumped in a hint of like a moldy smell on purpose because they didn't want you to get tripped up in your mind to think, oh, this is just a celebratory kind of thing. You have to remember, this is still scary.
Right.
It's the little small attention to details.
See, that's what I'm saying with Universal Monsters, the detail. And like I said, every room got more and more intense because
For real.
as you went in each room, that music got a little bit darker and more sinister.
And it got more louder.
That's cool. Ours definitely did that along the way. It had like a domino effect kind of feel. And then there was a massive scare at the end. Shout out to the dude on Still Shoot, the only person that got me that night. But yo.
Man, I was so mad. I almost got the triple scare, but the person in front of me was walking so slow, I couldn't get it.
And that's like kind of like the con of that conga line thing. Like I try, like me personally, I try to go as slow as I can because, but there's like the scary people that be like, keep up with them. But, but
right.
nah,
They trying to stay close so they don't get
exactly.
scared.
But you won't experience everything like that. You'll just come out the house like let down. But no, you gotta actually like sometimes they'll like hold you back. Like at the beginning of the house, the cast members would like hold you back, be like, hold on, wait a second. Cause they got like a whole display camera of like, what's going on in the house, because there's cameras in the house, so they, so the house can become congested. So they hold you back, then they like let you in. I appreciate them for doing that because like, the scare actors can change out. There could be a scare actor change, there could be, something going on, and then like now you get the full experience of like all the scares.
That happened to me at every house. I got held back, which is how I was able to run through the house.
Oh, okay.
And then the people behind me, they just cracking up. What's wrong with this dude? And the whole time I'm on like my 4th electric death.
No, for real, man.
I'm running through there.
So were they doing actual crowd control?
Yes.
Oh yeah.
The night that I went, crowd control in every house.
See, now I think that's tight.
Because
they didn't do any kind of crowd control in Hollywood. It was a continuous line the whole time.
And this is how you know HHN was massive this year. Like, me and Craig both did Stay and Scream.
Yep.
When I did Stay and Scream, bro, the line for Stranger Things, which was my first house I did.
Both nights.
The line for Stranger Things, I actually waited 20 minutes even with Express before I got into Stranger Things with Stay and Scream and Express. That should tell you something right there. But the crazy part is, with me doing Stand Scream, they started at around
5:30.
Yeah, around 5:30. I got 4 houses done by 6:15. Even with waiting for Stranger Things at 20 minutes.
Nah, I'm lying. It'd be 5:30. It'd be 5:30 for all of them. But cause like I did the Stay and Scream area for Universal Monsters
Yeah, see.
and I believe it was Last of Us 2. But I was definitely in the Universal Monsters line, and their house, that house, and the Last of Us was like right by each other because they took up the weekend and the Universal Monsters Legends Collide, so they was like right across from each other, and so theirs open at like 5:15, but I believe all the houses open at 5:30, but I think all the houses open at 5:15 anyway.
Yeah. I was in the New York Stand Scream.
Yep.
And it was 5:15. I said 5:30. It was 5:15 for the New York Stand Scream.
But 5:30, that's when all of them be open. But yeah, so you ain't wrong about that.
I can't lie to y'all. Jalen and I went through Stranger Things, and I don't think I really remember your thoughts on Stranger Things.
It was all right. I mean, I
That's
gave
how
it.
I felt.
Yeah, I gave it. I think my rating was. I gave it. I think it was like I'd say 6 out of 10.
Yeah, I gave it a 6 out of 10
because
also.
I felt like it was. I mean, it was an okay house. It just wasn't the best. There was stuff that's lacking, obviously.
I feel like it would have been better if this would have been an overall Stranger Things house, but this was all 4. And
Yep.
if you were somebody going through the house that didn't watch 4, then it doesn't make sense.
See,
personally for me, the detail was cool, but it just didn't pull me like that. And also the wait times were so incredibly long in Hollywood for Stranger Things that we got one time with it on Express, and I didn't even
Literally me. The
I
only
didn't even
time I
mind
did
going
it was
back.
the second night that I went to HHN on a Saturday, and I was literally at 150. So it was 10 minutes left during the event, and it was the same thing when I did Last of Us, the last house I did on night 1. So even with Stay and Scream, this year, I was only able to do either Last of Us or Stranger Things. That's it.
That's crazy. I did all 10 houses
Because
in one night.
Because you went at the beginning of October technically, but like I went in like the middle, like the thick of it.
But
Like
September was bad though.
now, honestly, I don't think September was that bad.
Man, no, bro.
From what I've seen.
So look, I didn't start watching videos like outside of those few I showed you about Express and all that. I didn't start watching videos until after because I didn't want to spoil anything. Like I muted it on YouTube, Twitter, everything.
I did too.
So like the stuff that I saw like from the beginning of September up until then, they were saying that like Express was sold out up until like the last week of October, and this was early September. They were saying this.
I mean, I definitely heard that Orlando's Express / Stay and Scream situation was just kind of all over the place.
It was.
Apparently, it was really unorganized. A lot of people had Express, and it didn't even matter. It
really didn't because, like I said, Stranger Things and Last of Us, you might as well go on the regular line,
right?
For real, because you gotta wait a long time.
I don't know if the crowd control is really like the downfall in that situation or what, but to hear that Express is sold out in advance all of these nights and these people are going to horror nights and not being able to use it, I think that's weird. Something's not right. Because at Hollywood, if you had Express, as soon as you walked in, you got a wristband, and then they gave you your laminate because you got a laminate this year.
See, I think with Express in Orlando, you just got a laminate and you got like a little card,
right?
Like you got a laminate and you can put the card in there,
right?
But that's pretty much it. You don't get no wristband. You just like go through the line, and then they got like two checkpoints where they scan it. So
See, yeah, I don't know. Like I guess I went
that just holds the line up even more.
I think I went on a particularly good night, but it was still packed. Because I'm telling you, like Like I said, I did stand screen because remember I was updating y'all. Like, all right, it's this time I got this done. So after I did those first 4, I said I don't want to get done too fast.
That's
So
the only thing I worry about with Stand Scream is that it allows you to knock so much out before it actually starts.
It
It's
really
like
does.
I still want to be in the event. I still want to enjoy the event.
I
I
literally,
don't know.
I
I got a
literally
weird
got
thing about doing horror night houses while the
see,
the
look,
sun is still
I
out.
swear, remember
I
my
don't know.
situation. Like I said, I finished those first 4 houses by like 6 o'clock, 6:15. So then I slowed down. I got on the Mummy ride twice.
for real, for
I got
real,
on Transformers 2 times.
for real, for
I went
real.
and stopped and got some food. I went back to the tribute store. So I didn't really start doing houses again until like maybe
7, 8 o'clock.
it was about 8.
So you took a little break, did some other things.
Because you can definitely take a break if you do stay and scream. Like like you already said, I got like at least 5 houses done by 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah.
And those were like, obviously
The
not
heavy
the
hitters.
heavy, not like, yeah, like some of the heavy hitters and most of the, originals. But like, Stranger Things and Last was that's the end of the night.
Stranger Things and Kick Rocks.
Regardless. Even now I know, even if Stranger Things or Last of Us were like the biggest IP, even if it's say like 60, 70, 80, 90, you need to do it right then and there because it can
It can jump
it
in
can
5
jump up
minutes.
to it can jump up to
That's so
120 minutes
wild,
in
man.
in the span of 5 minutes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you guys going to Orlando, and I think it's cool that we have 2 different perspectives here, from a bi-coastal standpoint. We said this was the year of the originals.
It definitely was
No
for
discredit
Orlando.
to the IPs.
Speaking of my top
But
three.
I was about to say, there's one house, and since you haven't given your top 3 yet, I'm gonna save my thought. But I was going to ask y'all a question about one. I'll see what your top 3 are. But
For sure. So no particular order for me, actually, and is this one instance for this one particular house. Darkest Deal was my favorite house this year. I'm not gonna ain't no ifs, ands, or buts about it.
it was Darkest Deal.
Darkest Deal was it for me
Man, it was demonic.
because
That's what it
because
was.
me and Nick are music people. And so if you're not a music person, you won't really get it, or you won't really like, mess with it like I did. Because you go into the house, it's a simple story. Guy wants to be famous, sells his soul for fame, you know. You go through the house, it starts off like real decrepit and like broken down and like, uh worn down, and then like as soon as he gets famous starts building up. Now like is and like the cool thing is that you experiencing, him going through like his fame and like, the time winding down to where the devil takes his soul, and then like, boom, he goes to his big event, and then his soul gets taken away. And it's like, man, then you like go through hell and whatnot. And then you know, that's it. And then I love the effect of where the devil came in, like when he had his big show and the devil came in, took his soul, like they had like a blue light on his chest, that like, and then you actually saw him taking his soul like that. Like that was great. And the way they incorporated music, and you know how they just incorporated everything. That house was great. That house was really, really, really good.
Crazy House of Black Dude though.
I was
Right.
about to say
That's kind of the part that I was like, no, did you really have to do that? But I understand, it was a Southern story, and it's actually like,
it was like New Orleans, right?
right. It was actually based on like, that's
I
something
would
that
say
actually
Chuck
happened.
Berry
But
if you ask me.
from watching it on YouTube, I feel like Darkest Deal definitely gave like Chuck Berry,
yep,
regardless of who it is, it gave strong like Mississippi Delta vibes.
Yep, it
like
did.
it happened.
Yeah, and like he was
down that way.
literally rock and roll.
yep.
Right.
But another house I would say is Exorcist. Exorcist definitely delivered. Definitely way better than the movie, because honestly, it doesn't take you through the slow parts of the movie. It just drops you in there like It drops you in there in the beginning of the movie where they at the African festival and like, whatnot. And then they just drop you into the most intense parts of the movie.
Yeah.
Where they was trying to find
Catherine
and Angela, mom, dad searching, and then they just drop you in the possession part, and that smell in that room was just foul. Like it literally smelled like vomit and an ant farm mixed together. Like it was crazy. Like it really, like how they was explaining it in a movie. I don't know how you didn't smell it.
I'm glad
but I'm telling you, they pumped it up in there, and like that effect was crazy. Everybody was like, "Oh my god!" And so
it was definitely one in Hollywood.
It was reeking in there, and then like the scare factor, like it was like you said, 4 scares back to back to back to back at the end. That got me real good. And then my third house, I would say, is honestly, let me see, because I would say it's a tie between Blood Moon and Yeti. Because
Yeti takes the cake.
Yeti, man, I'm telling you, when I listen, Universal know how to do a camp house. They know how to do a campground something house. I'm telling you, because when people came out of Yeti, they was like, "Oh my god, that's like it. That's it, man." Because Yeti was, I'm telling you, and then like the costumes, the props, the scare actors, man, the bear, huge, but man, it was so good. And then what was it? Blood Moon. Oh man. Now you want to talk about people that was genuinely actually terrified to go through that house, that have actually been in it already, or like have been in one. There's this one scene where it's like a church, people just facing the front, hoods down and everything, and then like people was actually like held back, not even want to go in that part. That house scare factor to me, that was it. Because it got me several times, and it was so good. Now it didn't look. It probably didn't. Now them cameras, I'm telling you, like when you look at online on YouTube, when you see these vloggers going through it, that don't do it justice. You got to actually go in there for yourself.
Yeah,
and you got to do
it
every
year, man. I'm telling you, every year is always a house at the other one that I wish I could have gone through, and Blood Moon was that one. You got to remember, Orlando's Horror Nights started a week and a half, 2 weeks before Hollywood actually started.
Yeah.
So weird. When I was on YouTube watching everything, and y'all were like, "Not watching, I'm not watching," that was the house I was texting you all about, and I was freaking out because I was like, "Y'all gotta see this house."
It was so
good.
Like this house is fire, man. Y'all gotta see
I definitely went in that house like 4 or 5 times. It was so good, bro.
If you ask me, in terms of just from watching on YouTube, my house of the year, point blank across both Horror Nights, would honestly be Blood Moon.
Blood Moon was demonic, bro.
It's demonic.
But I'm talking from a detail standpoint.
Oh yeah, detail for sure.
You
saw the blood moon.
That was crazy.
You saw the blood moon in the sky, like when you went like quote unquote outside, and then like you saw the blood moon getting bigger and bigger, and like more detailed and everything. Man, I'm telling you,
I'm so mad I wasn't able to see that one.
And y'all would enjoy.
Y'all got Evil Dead, so deal with it.
I feel like y'all would enjoy.
No, they didn't.
Like speaking of other houses, I think y'all would enjoy. I think y'all would enjoy Oddfellow too.
Yeah, Oddfellow was dope.
Yeah, because you go through, you see what's going on with Oddfellow. He's he got this circus. He's trying to like get people to come see it and whatnot. But it's not going well at first. But then like you see him trying to take souls and everything, and build up his power. And then like at the end he got all his power. He's trying to take everybody's soul and whatnot. But it was like the scares were really good too, and the effects too. Like yeah,
and that was a bright house.
Yep.
It was kind of like okay. I would say it's a mixture between TerraVision's when we first got it at the Darkness and an episode of American Horror Story Freak Show all in one.
That's a cool mix.
It gave that off.
I feel like I wish they would have done something a little more with clown characters this year at Horror Nights in terms of Hollywood. But bringing it back to the Hollywood side for a second, we have to talk about the unfortunate eyesore that ended up being Chucky.
Also, the next
Jalen, what?
So
the
disappointing. That was
the
so
Death Eater Spheres
disappointing.
one too. We gotta put that back. Yeah.
So Jalen,
Man.
in terms of Chucky, I know you and I agreed that it just wasn't that good. What do you feel like it was lacking? I felt like it was lacking something. I can't really figure out what that may be, but it was definitely lacking something.
I think the main thing I think was lacking was an actual person playing Chucky. That was the thing that was there wasn't it was all animatronics. There wasn't a single person, an actor actually playing Chucky.
Right. All the
So
actors were more like the victims.
yeah, so I think if there was actually a person that was playing Chucky, I think that would have definitely plus, I mean, like, and just like I think more detail too. I felt like some of it
Yeah, I feel
was
like the
and it was pretty bright in there too. Like I've noticed that too. Like I think maybe a little darker and like just like less animatronics.
I feel like the detail was there. The idea was there, but just like Jalen said, if you don't have, you can have the most elaborate haunted house ever, but if you don't have actors inside of there, you might it's dead.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just not there.
the execution wasn't there.
Like the actors that they had in there did okay. The detail was on point, but the fact that it was just animatronic Chuckies around every corner, it threw it off. Jalen and I came out, and as soon as we came out of there, we said the exact same thing. They needed actual people to play Chucky. It would have made all the difference.
But it's like, I feel like they didn't want to do that because, it's essentially they invited, like the story is they invited the real Chucky to be there. He's taking over all the dolls. So I'm like, oh, well. And then when I walked in there and then, I saw the animatronic Chucky and everything, which the one entering in, that was pretty cool. I ain't gonna lie. But, like the different kills and like, how it was going on, I was like, oh, well. Yeah, I can see why. Like when I left, I was like, "Oh, yeah, I can see why this is everybody's least favorite house because it didn't give what it was supposed to."
It didn't. I don't know. I believe that I guess I won't say producers, but the showrunners, I guess. I just believe that they were so overly confident because of the hype of Chucky that they just didn't go back and make sure that it was a top tier house.
Yeah, I feel like they really could have spent more time on it.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like, Chucky was announced at the end of HHN in 2022. You know what I'm saying? It was announced on Halloween. I feel like when they announced it, it was like, oh, we already know we got this one in the bag, so let's work
Right,
on all
because
these
the
other
TV show
ones,
did
then
so
worry
well.
about this one.
Right. But
So
man, and it still had a long wait too. So
it
I
definitely
was
had a
like,
long
oh
wait.
well.
The night I went, it was steady at 50 minutes.
Like on Friday and Saturday most definitely it was like at 90. It was hot potato in between 75 and 90.
Yeah, it didn't go over
But it didn't
60
go
the
over
night I
100
went.
for sure. No.
I will say Chucky was the only IP that they put far away from the other IPs. It was in the upper lot. It was on the backside by Terror Tram and Universal Monsters. It was far
Chucky,
away from everything else.
I couldn't find it for a while.
Yeah,
it was
still
the
had a
last house I
solid
did.
line.
It was tucked because you know how Fast and it's in the Fast and Furious queue line, so it's like it was tucked.
And I'm like, how did I miss this?
And
I
Hollywood
thought I almost
Chucky
missed
was
it too
also
till I saw
done
the
at
Chucky
10.
booth. You know what I'm saying? But it's tucked in there.
That hard a Dambala drink.
Yeah. Hey, the drinks was A1 this year.
That was the one that put me on my face.
In terms of like food and drinks, shout out to whoever was manning the blinky cups.
For sure.
That drink was
I
fire.
seen a lot of them.
You know what?
Show.
I went to the tribute store during Stay and Scream hours. I was so upset with that Chucky whoopie pie.
Yeah, I remember you texting us about that.
That kind of
looks
looks
okay.
I
was excited about it because I'm a Chucky fan.
Right.
So the problem is that it was blue velvet, right? Because you know Chucky's colors are like blue, red, orange, yellow.
For sure.
Blue velvet. And the filling was cookies and cream. But it had a raspberry compote on it and that was supposed to be blood. So my problem with it is that the idea was there, but like you said, the execution, because the chocolate in the blue velvet was too sweet.
And see, just like going back to what you said about Chucky And I think, Jalen, I feel like you and I can agree on this, but in terms of execution with Chucky, I'm sorry, but the merch pissed me off, bro. Like I couldn't stand the merch, man. I couldn't stand it. It was too cute. Like it did not give me a horror night feeling. It didn't give me that
Oh, a lot
like
of
that
people bought
scare
it though.
factor.
It
Oh
did.
yeah, no, they definitely ran it up. You know what I'm saying? But
You
like
know
I
what?
just didn't.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling it.
Man, I'm mad I didn't get
I feel like this
the
was the
Chucky
best horror
popcorn
night
bucket.
t-shirt this year.
For real.
Yep.
Universal Monster shirt.
I just know Universal know how to do a cake pop. Boy, them things are fire, bro. I swear. And my favorite item, man, that peanut butter burger. Oh
Nah, bro.
my god!
The vegan walking taco.
And
it was
so like you gotta be real. I mean, they cook your stuff fresh, but like like when you get it real fresh, like fresh out I got mine fresh out the grill. That thing was so good. And that walking taco was fire. It was fire. This was my first time getting that twisted tater, and I kind of see why people like skip over that, but it was good for what it was. But man, them piece of fries
that I didn't get at
Yeah.
Hollywood this year.
Yeah.
No,
y'all gotta come to Orlando for that.
We got in line.
They
and their
had it
computer
there.
broke.
Yeah.
The registers went
really?
down and they kicked everybody out. That's
Right.
like
That's
we never
wild.
got it.
Right at like the last minute.
Oh wow.
That's sick.
Well, one thing I feel like we definitely need to touch on, and I don't know if you guys saw this in Orlando, but in Hollywood, this was a humongous hit, and I know it'll happen again. The Death Eaters in Hogsmeade
Yes.
Yeah.
and the Wizarding World of Harry Potter.
They had them in Diagon Alley. Man.
Jalen, you a Harry Potter
Oh,
fan.
for sure.
So
I mean,
like,
I lost it. I'm like, that's like I was like in shock the whole time because I'm just like kind of like in love because I just love Harry Potter. So then I'm like literally like I could stay there all day if I wanted to. I mean, because like they had an actual replica of the castle, Hogwarts. They had the Hogsmeade. And so like in like that castle, I had to take like probably 10 pictures of that.
Were you how I was at Scarface over Catherine?
yeah, he was dying.
Oh man,
Yeah.
I know the feeling is.
And
Jalen.
And then we
they
drank
had-
butterbeer too. That was nice.
Yeah, the butterbeer was
that was
fire.
so good.
It was fire.
They had the Death Eaters in Diagon Alley at Universal
And I missed
because Hogsmeade is in Islands of Adventure.
Yep.
So
okay.
everybody really got in there when like they came out and like everybody was taking pictures, flicking it up with them and everything. And like it was a good time. Like the Death Eaters, I honestly couldn't believe it. I was like, bro, Death Eaters, they right here. You know what I'm saying? They, got their own vibe, messing with people and everything. Like that was
And they hire some top-notch actors to play those characters.
Yep.
To get to the Chucky house and the Universal Monsters house in Hollywood, you have to go through Hogsmeade. And the Death Eaters, just like the way they moved, like everything, just the way they played the character, it was like perfect. Yeah. It was perfect. It was
the shows this year was A1 too.
Shows are great.
Yep.
Nightmare Fuel, shout out.
Yeah, shout out to the Purge show. Do you remember the name? I don't remember the name of the show, but it was like a Purge-esque type of show. It was real
Those
cool.
performers they be earning their living. I'll tell you that much.
Definitely.
Them fire dancers, man. Cause man, I'm telling you, like the way, like if you seen the show, the way they pull that stuff off with like ease, no mess ups, and honestly, most of the performers were the same people that did all the Nightmare Fuel shows, that came after Bill and Ted's Excellent Halloween Adventure. Past that, it was the same performers and everything, and the way that they pull that off is just like amazing, and shout out to them because,
Nah, that was dope.
They are dope.
And I feel like we weren't gonna touch on it too much. We got about 5 minutes left. We are going to be covering speculation season all year long at the Toxic Icon podcast, all the way leading up to the next event. Any rumors that we get from credible sources, because you can't take them from everybody.
right.
There's got to be credible sources like HN Nightmares. Shout out to HHN 365.
Yep.
Those are the two that I definitely follow. That like if I hear some rumors coming from them, I trust what I'm hearing. It's looking like this year's event in 2024 is going to be a banger. They're predicting 11 houses. We know,
Can't wait.
but we don't know. But we'll get the Five Nights at Freddy's house, Oddfellow versus Jack. And what's the other rumor? A musical artist is gonna get another house.
Lady Gaga.
Hopefully it's Lady
We gonna
Gaga. If
see.
not, I'm
Hey.
writing a letter to somebody.
Because we thought she was gonna be this year, but
Yeah,
hey.
we'll see what happens, man. But make sure that you all stay tapped in with the Toxic Icon, because we are definitely going to be covering speculation season.
Yes, subscribe, hit that notification bell, subscribe to us on Patreon. And as always, stay toxic.